Welcome to Unscripted Gaming. My name is Josh.
My name is Mike.
My name is Stan.
We have a new little feature today. We're gonna have a Unscripted Gaming Talks Television or TV
Ooh.
for short.
The other set-top box, you say?
Yes. The much less developed and much shittier box on your TV stand that sometimes puts movie pictures in front of you.
You know, all right. I can only take you bitching about TV for so long. You stop right there.
Hey, I like TV.
Then leave it alone.
I will say that the hardware behind television is terrible, but TV's good. I was a cord cutter for a while, and then I got TV again because I missed it.
I'm gonna recut the cord. I just haven't turned on my DirecTV box in over 5 months.
Anyways, we're here to talk about a show a Netflix original show that came out pretty recently, took the world by storm, and I don't know about you guys, but I really enjoyed Stranger Things.
Indeed. Real quick, before we get started, I'm going to give a disclaimer. From this point forward, there is no safe haven against spoilers. We may not spoil things, but we probably will. So if you're still watching the show or plan to, you may want to pause right now, go devote the next 8 hours of your life to watching the show, then come back and come talk to us.
Real talk. It's about
Good?
6.5. They're 45 minutes episodes.
Some of them are 50, 55 minutes.
The last one is.
Some of the middle ones are too.
But yeah, you see that big thing that's still flashing? That's a spoiler alert that I have here. You should pay attention to it. Okay, you've been warned. Let's proceed.
Well, I mean,
Mike, what is Stranger Things for those who may not know, who still shouldn't be listening to this show?
Yeah, I was about to say, at what point? What, that was a horrible lead-in. Fire yourself.
well, hey, you know
I
what,
am
Stan? Let me bail my boy out here.
All right.
Well, Stranger Things
There's
is
gonna be one person.
Stranger Things, like I said, it's a Netflix original. Let me find like a good summary. And basically, it's kind of the story of like a small Indiana town, and there are a couple of young friends. It's kind of set in the early 80s, and one of them goes missing. They find a mysterious girl. Things get supernatural. And I mean, just from the whole premise of this thing, like the second you just even take a look at the poster for this show, like the fact that it even has a poster, this thing is just a balled up nostalgia love letter to things like E.T., I mean other Spielberg classics like Poltergeist, I mean other kind of things like Stephen King. You have a little bit of John Carpenter in there with the score, and it's just
It's basically every 80s monster movie kind of condensed down and executed in a modern way.
Exactly, and it's just like this show it really just nailed the vibe of that whole kind of like Spielberg-y, where kids run an adventure. It's kind of a coming of age thing, but there's also a little bit of horror in it. It just, man, everything just came together so well in this show. I mean,
yeah, and I felt like at least in the early parts of the show there were some distinct kind of tropes going on where you were getting introduced to the character, the setting, the protagonist, the shadowy government figures, the monster itself.
We're kind of hemming and hawing. Let's just take it from the top. So, the series starts off with something very simple. It shows a bunch of kids in basements playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Woo!
It starts off playing Dungeons and Dragons. You find one kid, he's just trying to go home from school. Well, actually, no, I take that back. The show starts off in media res. I forgot about the first 3 minutes, and it shows a scientist running down the hallway from what is some monster that you never get to see chasing him. Monster catches him. Then it shows the kids playing Dungeons and Dragons. Then one of the kids goes home. Then the kid gets chased and then captured by the monster. But is the kid captured because some weird things start happening, and then they meet this girl that escaped from this weird sci-fi facility that you saw earlier meets the kids hunting for their friends that's being captured by the monster, and then they discover this girl has weird psychic powers, and then the series just kind of explodes from there. Why does she have weird psychic powers? What did this monster do to the kid? The monster captures someone else. What happens when the monster captures someone? Does it eat them? Why does the monster have no face? Why? Where did this girl with psychic powers come from? How powerful are her psychic powers? Oh, they're that powerful. Okay, why are they that powerful? Oh, that's why they're that powerful. So on and so forth. Don't worry, there's a B and a C plot, but I thought they were shit. And they ultimately meant nothing to the entire story, in my opinion. Actually, my favorite character is the sheriff, but he's meant to be your favorite character.
Yeah, and I think, kind of like what Josh was
my
saying.
favorite character was the diner owner.
Of course it
didn't
was.
end well
No,
for him.
you would say that.
But yeah, kind of like what you were saying, Josh. I mean, there's so many familiar kinds of like. That's what I think I really loved about this show. Is I mean, it does such a good job of like establishing this really familiar setting. Like you know these characters already, even though you haven't met them. You know, there's the mom who's kind of crazy. You know, there's the weird girl. There's like the dickhead cop or whatever. And then there's like douchey boyfriend, like older sister who's like just an aloof kid. And so they establish all these, or even like one of the other kids is basically like he's just is Chunk from the Goonies, like that's how on the nose they get with some of this stuff. Which is, I mean, on one end, it's great that they do that because it's done so well. That I mean, like that was another thing that really impressed me. Was just all the child actors just nail it. Like they do, it feels so natural.
I have not seen child acting that good in quite some time. And
Yeah,
and not just
exactly.
like one or two, like the entire group of kids that they got nailed their parts
Yeah, they were very believable.
incredibly well.
Yeah.
I think like especially you have to give credit to the young actress. Her name is Millie Bobby Brown, who played 11 or L. I mean, to put on that kind of performance with, I mean, she did not have a lot of dialogue to work with, like barely any.
No.
And she
No,
did
she
a
did
great.
very
She
well.
was incredible performance. I mean, that's a
clipped words and facial expressions really, and she nailed
So
it.
what's great
Exactly.
about this show is there are certain points of this show where I admit I forgot I was watching a show. I was just in. And that's good acting, that's good world building, that's good setting. It's an all-around good program.
There aren't that many shows that I can think of where I start to forget that these are actors.
Right.
Like they're just people doing a thing, and you're watching somebody recording them living their actual life.
Yeah, it's like a day in the life.
They're just that good. And while we're on that topic, can we just give some fucking props to Winona Ryder? Her performance in this thing is spectacular.
Yeah, like I think
Yes.
like exasperated mom of missing child can be a really like bummer performance, or like something that's just like, oh my god, like eye rolling if you're not careful with it. But I mean, she definitely was like at a higher level than a lot of people, but you can like really she does a great job, and I think they also like
she plays that line of the mom slowly going insane from losing her child in a supernatural fashion, and knowing that everybody thinks she's crazy and a terrible mom, but knowing that she's actually not, and not quite sure if she knows what she knows or feels what she feels or saw what she saw. And that whole arc of her character going through that and her portrayal of that person is just it's I mean, my opinion, that's a masterclass in acting right there. That was phenomenal.
Yeah,
It was really good.
Like that's and that's kind of what I was going to get to earlier. It's just that's what's so awesome about this show is that they don't just have these like kind of really familiar tropes just to be like, hey, look at these tropes. But then they just like with how modern, like the show is really modern despite its kind of nostalgic feel. I mean, it does really it takes these characters in really different directions. Like, douchey boyfriend actually, gets things right. Aloof sister kind of becomes unaloof, and is caring and is
involved and caring,
involved, and it's and they do, and just the way they always do that, they turn those things upside down here is really cool. It's really kind of interesting to see because we're so familiar with all those ideas.
Well, they kind of turn it on its head again. Like at the very end, you expect the geeky guy to get the girl. Nope. Dick boyfriend got the girl at the end. Oh yeah, he's still tagging it. Stupid ass Christmas sweater and everything.
But you always think that it doesn't matter because it's not the guy she's supposed to be with, but because they went through this extraordinary situation, they're just automatically going to end up together. But
yeah.
Sometimes that's not how. Maybe his depiction of her and her boring life, it was actually semi-apt, and she isn't necessarily going to do anything about it, even after this spectacular circumstance.
I want to say, like, for the first 3 episodes, I was just not feeling the show until the end of episode 3, and then when episode 4 started. And it's only, like, 8 episodes long? So right when episode 4 started, I was like, oh, we're in. Oh, my gosh. Oh, I'm in.
Yeah, I think that was actually something I kind of liked here, or at least another kind of that Spielberg-y vibe of lots of time to build the characters and build the tension. Like, shit pops off in Poltergeist pretty quick compared to something like Jaws, but there's definitely a lot. They definitely take the time in establishing the setting, so making all of that feel really familiar and kind of wallowing in. Wallowing's the wrong word because that's negative, but really embracing and and being patient, like, to really just to give that initial investment, which made it all for me work so much more. Like as the show kind of got raced towards the end.
I understand why they did it too, because when I'd finished the show, because I'd watched it on a recommendation from Mike. And I started watching it, and a day and a half later I was done. I was like, oh my god, that was amazing. I need more. And I was like, oh, I want to see, this has probably been out for some time. I want to see what's coming on with season 2 or what's going on. And I look it up, and I'm like, oh, this has been out for 5 days. Mm-hmm. Shit. So I started reading everything I could because I'm like, I need to know more. And I was reading an interview with the brothers who produced and made the show, and they said in their original writing of the script and of the story, Elle uses her powers to the max, basically, really early on. When they realized they had as much time as they did, when they had a full 8 hours to work with and 8 episodes, they're like, you know what? We're going to kind of dish this out over time, and we're going to make it kind of a slower drip of figuring out what's going on and what is happening, who is this person, where is this place, what is the Upside Down, which, they have a 30-page document about the Upside Down.
Okay.
So that's cool.
It was incredibly well thought out, but the slow drip of stuff at the beginning was very intentional to kind of build your suspense and your what the hell is going on as you're watching it.
So I think me and Mike talked about this earlier. This is not a series that you watch. Like this series was obviously not planned to be weekly, because as a weekly show, it actually would be horrible. But it is definitely something you should.
I think that's a bit. I think that's harsh, but it really does feel like Netflix designed this show from the ground up to be watched more like an 8-hour movie than a TV show. I mean, this show is lean and mean with the script. Like even taking the show from 8 episodes to like 13 episodes and covering that same amount of story, like you could see, like it just feels like they really, like this, like I just said, this thing is lean. They don't really do a lot of things
tight.
They don't waste a lot of time. They don't, create a lot of weird, like really unimportant subplots. I feel like everything is either advancing the plot, establishing that setting, moving characters, putting them in interesting, different situations, or doing really cool stuff like visually and design-wise.
Yeah, I never really felt like there was a scene in there that didn't need to be in there for some
Yeah,
reason.
nothing. I felt like very few moments were really kind of wasted on that show, which was in the age where you get. I mean, I guess even a small detail like this show doesn't have like a previously on Stranger Things. Like it
No, it just
knows
jumps
you.
right in it.
Like it knows you
it's
just
perfect.
watched the last one, which
Yeah,
it
it's
just
meant
keeps
to
it
be binged.
like exact, which I think is like a really interesting kind of new thing. It's a strange thing.
The show plays like just a really long movie, and it kind of
Mhm.
ends like
It
a
really
really
does.
long movie. Also, can we
All right.
spend the last couple
So
seconds
here's-
talking about that ending?
Yeah, so and I was just getting ready to
All
ask.
right.
So the show ends on a bit of a cliffhanger.
Not really, but
I'd
I
call
think
that
you're
a
incorrect.
cliffhanger.
But anyways, it's not like a gratuitous cliffhanger. It's more of like it's like a promise of spooky things
Like,
to come.
oh fuck, this isn't over. Now, as tight as this season was, as great as it was, as much as I think they have about the Upside Down and the story and the world and the setting, do you want a season 2 that continues on with these characters in this plot line, or do you want the True Detective style where season 2 follows a new Stranger Things thing happening? Maybe
Like an
maybe
anthology
you
kind
talk
of
about
series.
the Russians doing their experiments and getting into their version of the Upside Down, or something of that. Another Stranger Thing-esque thing that's related, but not
Mhm.
these characters in this setting.
I think the show creators, they are leaning towards doing the second season as a direct continuation of the first. And honestly, I mean, I get the concern with the first season being so great and just so tight and not wanting to like kind of bloat it. But on the other hand, like these characters in this cast are just so well developed, and so they've already done a great job building them up. I think that there's still a lot of things that they can do with these characters and a lot of interesting stories to tell. And on the other hand, as one of the few victims of the second season of True Detective, sometimes doing the anthology thing just means you get something that's actually like way, way worse than the first season. And so I personally, I think I understand like the concern like about why people would want them to do an anthology, but I mean clearly they're doing some great stuff there, and they have such a great cast already. I'm curious to see them roll out for at least one more
I'll
season
say
with
right
these
now,
guys.
I honestly cannot decide which I will prefer because I like both ideas. There's a part of me that can't imagine not knowing what happens next, and there's a part of me that's like, you know what? I kind of like just having it in there and that kind of question mark, and then seeing another story that they have to tell in this universe or something like that. And because both I think would be great, or both could really suck, depending on what kind of ideas they have, how they execute it, how they handle the success of the first season. And right now, I just can't decide which I want more.
I would have appreciated it more if this wasn't just a season 1. If this was a show that was self-contained and ended, honestly. Like if you want to build off of that, that's great. That's fine. But
You'll always have season 1, so
yeah. But the way season 1 ends, it obviously leads into like obligatory. We want a season 2. Well,
I
the
mean,
story
not
just
necessarily. I mean, if you think about some of the older like things with. I mean, kind of like this show draws a lot on things like the X-Files and Twilight Zone, and a lot of those episodes of that show have the kind of, the stinger kind of ending where like something spoopy happens, like, oh, they didn't quite get it right, or there's something
And
still
then
kind of
the
out
end
there.
pops up,
But
and
then
the question mark fades in.
something kind of like that, yeah. So, and then they just never really revisit that. And I think, I think that works fine. Like, I think that works. That's kind of like fun. So I think that there's definitely
that don't mind leaving a hanging thread and being like,
Mhm.
did everything end up working out okay? I don't know. What do you
That
think?
reminds me, I need to watch Cloverfield Lane. Thank you for that.
That's sidebar. That's an awesome movie.
Okay,
It's
I'm gonna add it to
really
my
good.
Amazon.
It's a lot of fun.
That's a good.
It's
That's a good thing to
gr-
hear because I really liked Cloverfield.
I know you did.
Fucking. Love
Wait,
that
hold
movie.
on. Huge nitpick. I am tired of monster movies where the monsters are like impervious to like any sort of conventional weaponry. What are these angels from Evangelion? Do they just have AT fields constantly deployed? Yeah, that's a nerdy ass joke. I'd make it again.
But yeah, you know what? You just need to make a giant 80-foot robot with 2 pilots.
Maybe.
Then everything's solved.
Maybe.
Boom. Problem solved. And I guess just kind of since we're kind of, getting close to our wrap up time here, fellas. I guess just the one kind of parting point I wanted to make about Stranger Things. I mean, apart from, I just thought I think it was some of the strongest original content that Netflix has produced. I think it probably. I don't know if how many other people agree with me. I think I personally, it's probably my favorite thing Netflix has produced originally. And I just wanted to give a shout out to the score because it was awesome. And there's some great moments in there that happen because the score is so well used. And it's just,
Yeah.
man, that show's good.
That music is great. For me, I'll just say is like, I didn't know it, but I really needed a show like this right now. I've been without like a good series in quite a while, and this scratched that itch perfectly. And I just can't speak highly of it enough because it was so surprising. It came out of left field for me personally. I hadn't heard anybody talking about it. Mike recommended it to me. I watched it. I'm blown away by it. I'm trying to find somebody to watch it with me because I just want to watch it again. So yeah, I'm excited to see what happens next with these guys.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Any parting shots, Stan?
Nah, I liked it. If there's going to be a sequel, there's going to be a sequel. But yeah, I dug it. I liked it a lot. I have very little complaints about anything I complained about. It's just a small little nitpick. But it was good. It was really good.
Those fucking
Ass TV.
any scene involving the Christmas lights in the house was just,
Oh my
man,
God.
that
They were so
God, that's
fucking
so good. Oh my God. Oh, that was the worst, but also the
Also,
best.
how fucking inventive of that mom to be like, all right, I'm seeing this pattern. Okay, we're gonna just go buy every fucking Christmas light, and we're gonna just hook this house up. And little did they know too that would become useful and helpful later on in
Oh
the
my
series,
God,
in the
like,
show too.
That fucking Ouija board shit was so, that's so good. It looked, man, I love this show.
Yeah,
It was
went
so
from
good.
communication device to like detection device. It was, oh man. So
What did that monster
Little-
do to
see-
just go back to the... Does it just warp in and out? I thought it had to break through barriers, but it didn't look like it broke through a barrier when the kids were burning it.
it seemed like it had its own ability to, like, it could use the barrier that had been created during the failed experiment or the one that was in the woods.
I mean,
But
it created
seemed
its
like
own barriers.
Yeah, and I don't know how, and maybe because the first tear had been created, it then gained the ability to create its own. I don't think they ever really seemed like they showed anything particular about that. So I don't know.
Yeah. It's not important, I guess, at the
And-
end of the day.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a thing that, as I mentioned before, completely impervious to human conventional weaponry. So what do I care if it could travel between dimensions?
Hey, they eventually killed it.
L
Or did
broke it apart atom by atom. That's what it took to kill
Yeah.
it.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah. All right. We're done.
See, it's one of those shows that where you remember one thing and you're like, oh my god, this was cool and it did this and this and this and oh my god, you know what? Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it led to this later on and I wasn't even thinking about that originally.
Man. Yeah. Okay.
So, if you know, who knows? We may watch another TV and come back to Unscripted Talks TV. Who knows? But if you want to find out about that, you should subscribe here on YouTube. I don't know why I always do the like YouTube thing and do the point
Yeah,
down.
no
We're
one can
not
see you.
recording the video or anything. I don't care. I'll do it anyway. Click here on YouTube. Just click the subscribe button. Go to Facebook.com. Look up Unscripted Gaming. Twitter.com. Unscript_gaming. You can also go to soundcloud.com/unscripted-gaming to keep us in your pocket, take us with you on the go, and follow us on every social media out there. But thank you for listening to Unscripted Gaming. My name is Josh.
My name is Mike.
My name is Ray. I threw him for a loop. You like that?
Peace.
Peace.